Gentlemen, it is with great pride and anticipation that I welcome you to the 103rd Annual Dinner of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick of Lackawanna County. In keeping with tradition, our dais was led into the hall this evening by the Greater Scranton Black Diamonds Pipe Band. Please join me in thanking the Black Diamonds for another great job. I would also like to take a moment and thank our flag bearers for this evening. My nephew, Noah Granite, Noah's father, Dr. Jason Granite, and his grandfather, Attorney Joe O'Brien, are here tonight with a crowd of Noah's uncles and cousins in the O'Brien side of the family. And Owen Haggerty. Owen's grandfather, Joe Haggerty, was the 86th president of our society, and Owen's father, Joe, has done a tremendous job this past year as treasurer. And finally, Matthew and David Harding, the sons of David and Barb Harding, and grandsons of our 83rd president, Dave Harding. Boys, thanks very much for your service. Great job. We have a special treat tonight. 2 years ago, we were honored to have Governor Martin O'Malley here with us. And if you all remember, Governor O'Malley did a tremendous job speaking and singing. So backed by popular demand, I would like to call on the Governor of Maryland, Martin O'Malley, to sing God Bless America. My two nephews, James Haggerty McGrath and Christopher O'Neill McGrath, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Jimmy is in 7th grade at St. Paul's School, and Christopher, who is known affectionately as the Babe, is in the 5th grade at St. Paul's. Please welcome Jimmy and Chris McGrath. Thank you, boys. Gentlemen, if you would remain standing for just a few more minutes. Last year at our dinner, Congressman Chris Carney was joining our dais for the first time as congressman from the 10th Congressional District. During this past year and throughout his first term in office, Congressman Carney has proven to us all what a strong bipartisan leader can do for his constituents in the United States Congress. I will tell you tonight, there was no one who worked harder for this society in helping us bring the Taoiseach to northeastern Pennsylvania than Congressman Carney. joining me in welcoming him to the podium tonight for some welcoming remarks, Congressman Chris Carney.
I want to welcome everyone here to the 10th district. Now, the way the districts are drawn, you don't always know which district is the 10th or the 11th or whatever. We're in my district. This is the 10th district, so welcome all. And I especially want to welcome my colleagues in Congress, Senator Casey, is it Ken Jaworski or Ken Jaworski tonight, Paul? Tim Holden from the 17th District is here tonight, and Patrick Murphy from the 8th District is here tonight. So, brothers in Congress, welcome. I appreciate you being here. But of course, we are especially honored to have Prime Minister Bertie Ahern here tonight and Ambassador Michael Collins. And we are so pleased with the cooperation that the embassy extended us in Washington. And the fact that I was blessed enough to spend so much time at the Irish Embassy this year, Michael Collins is now one of my dearest friends in Washington, so I'm very, very pleased by that. Now, as we know, so many in this room watch very closely what goes on in Ireland, and we're also pleased with the Taoiseach's role in bringing a permanent peace to a land we didn't ever think would have peace. Certainly our grandparents would never believe we would have this country. And the history of this area, of course, has been shaped by the immigrants from Ireland and the values that our ancestors brought with them. The values of faith, of family, of fairness, and of freedom. Those are the values we carry in our hearts. Those are the values that take us into the future. Now, Mr. Ahern, if you've ever leafed through a phone book in this area, it might look like one in Ballina or Dublin or Derry, and you could be forgiven for that. The names in your country are the names in our country. The link between your country and ours is inseparable. I bid you welcome. I bid you welcome home. Thank you.
I would like to call our host, the Mayor of Dixon City, Anthony Zaleski, for a few welcoming remarks.
Well, I can tell you, Chris is a hard act to follow, but I'm honored as mayor here in Dixon City, not only to be represented by one great man, Chris Carney, but also we have 600 voters that back our great man at the end of the table, Paul Ken Jaworski. And Mr. Prime Minister, guests, friends, on behalf of everyone in Dixon City, I would like to welcome you to the 103rd Friendly Sons of St. Patrick dinner. It was March 17th, 1964, when Robert Casey had the honor to introduce Robert Kennedy as the principal speaker at the Friendly Sons dinner. Today, we are honored to have his son, Max Kennedy, with us. Max, if you could please be acknowledged. I believe you're somewhere here in the front room. I don't think they threw you in the back. But if you could just wave your hand here, and I'd like to welcome you personally to Dixon City. I'm fortunate to be here with you today, and I'm proud to say that. This is my third time here to attend the dinner. My past two times, I've had a great time sitting in between two fine individuals. One was Moon Kelly, who they tossed off the table here this year, and I don't know where Moon is. And the other was Rich Fenstermacher, and he sat on my right. Today I am left sitting next to Eric, the new replacement for Rich, and he seems like he's a halfway decent person. Rich was the heart and soul of the German-American society, as was his wife. They were well known throughout the community, and they will always be known to be that. Rich, his wife Maria, and Scranton Fire Captain James Robeson were killed at a fire at the Fenstermacher's home on Ash Street in January. I miss Rich this evening. Rich made me laugh when Moon didn't. So I ask everyone out there to grab their glass, whether it hold beer, wine, water, or coffee, and raise it in the air as a toast to these three fine community leaders. These three are no longer with us, but their memories should always be with us. Rich would want it no other way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. That was very nice. For a minute there, I thought he was going to be my Toastmaster. Finally, gentlemen, it is now my privilege to call on our own mayor and immediate past president of the Friendly Sons, the mayor of the city of Scranton, Pennsylvania, Christopher A. Doherty.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to what is the second day of our Triduum, the High Holy Days in northeastern Pennsylvania. The parade yesterday, today the dinner, and tomorrow, obviously, the celebration. It is a great time for our area. We're so proud to have the Prime Minister here. Father Dunham, thank you very much for coming to northeastern Pennsylvania. Let's enjoy the evening, and remember, everybody go back to Scranton tonight. Thank you.
Finally, gentlemen, before we sit down and enjoy our meal, I would like to call on one of our society's favorite sons and the recipient of this society's President's Award in 2006, His Excellency, Bishop Emeritus of the Diocese of Scranton, James C. Timlin, for invocation this evening.
Thank you very much. It warms my heart to see so much enthusiasm for the invocation. Before we pray, I just want to extend a warm welcome also to all of you, and especially to our president, Matthew Haggerty, our distinguished guests, Letitia Ahern and Father Donahue, and Governor O'Malley, and so many others. It's a pleasure to have all of you here, and I too am happy to be here. And now let us pray. Heavenly Father, we turn to you in prayer as we come together to honor our patron saint, Patrick of Ireland. Through the intercession of our beloved Saint Patrick, grant us an increase of faith, of hope, and especially of love. Let us never forget that the most precious part of our Irish heritage is our Catholic faith, so carefully transmitted to us by Holy Mother Church and our devout parents and grandparents. We beg your gracious blessing this evening on all of us and all our families. We ask you to bless this food, which we are about to receive from your bountiful hands through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Bishop Timlin. Gentlemen, if you would, please join me in a toast. To the President of the United States of America, George W. Bush. To the President of Ireland, Mary McAleese. And to the Governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Edward G. Rendell. Gentlemen, we have a great treat in store for us this evening. I would like to call to the podium our vocalist for tonight's dinner, Kieran Sheehan. Kieran was born and raised in Dublin, Ireland. After college, he settled in New York City, where he studied acting with disciple Catherine Gately and legendary Broadway director Bobby Lewis. After winning the role of Tom in Hal Prince's acclaimed play Grandchild of Kings, Kieran's talent was quickly recognized and rewarded by starring roles on Broadway in such prestigious productions as Les Miserables and Phantom of the Opera, where he gave 1,000 performances as the dashing young Raoul, followed by over 1,000 performances on Broadway and in Toronto as the Phantom of the Opera. His Broadway stage work also includes Byzantium, The Molly Maguires, and Pulitzer Prize winning author Frank McCourt's The Irish and How They Got That Way. as well as a wide variety of productions at the Irish Repertory Theater in New York City. His work caused the New York Times to note that Sheehan has a kind of soaring stage voice from which indelible Broadway moments are made. To begin our program with the Star Spangled Banner and a Soldier Song, please welcome Kieran Sheehan. Thank you, Kieran, and thank you for being with us here tonight. We look forward to hearing from you a little bit later in the program. Your Excellency Bishop Timlin, Taoiseach Ahern, Father Donoghue, Reverend Clergy, Ambassador Collins, Senator Casey, Governor O'Malley, Congressman Carney, Kanjorski, and Holden, Dr. McDonald, distinguished judges and honored members of our dais, and friendly sons all. It is with great pride that I welcome you to the 103rd Annual Dinner of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick of Lackawanna County. Tonight we make history, as all of you are a part of the largest dinner in our society's 103-year history. Tonight we are honored with the President of the Prime Minister of Ireland, Taoiseach Bertie Ahern. Mr. Prime Minister, I want to welcome you on behalf of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick and all the good people of northeastern Pennsylvania. Your presence here tonight adds to the storied tradition and history of this great dinner. I am also grateful to Father Peter Donahue, President of Villanova University, for being here with us tonight. Father Donahue's presence also continues a great tradition of our society, which has seen over 28 presidents of Catholic universities deliver our clerical address. As a proud alumnus of Villanova, I want to welcome you and thank you for being with us here tonight. I am proud to share this day with my father, Jim, who was president of our society in 1981, and my brothers Jimmy and Daniel. Jimmy and Daniel and I owe so much of who we are to our father, who is affectionately known to most of us in this room as the big fella. Dad, we are thrilled to be with you here tonight, and we thank you for everything you've done for us over the years. I'm also proud to share this day with my father-in-law, Joe O'Brien, my brothers-in-law, Chris McGrath, Joe Collins, Brian James, Jason Granite, Mikey O'Brien, and Jimmy O'Brien, my uncles Edward George and Bill Lynott, and Joe Haggerty, who was unable to be with us here tonight, but is without a doubt listening at home, and with my nephews, Jimmy and Chris McGrath and Noah Granite, who were flag bearers here tonight, and too many cousins and friends to mention. I would like to thank my mom, Celia, who has been a tremendous help throughout this year as I put this dinner together. As some of you may know, one of my mother's best and dearest friends is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi. My mother worked tirelessly in my efforts to woo the Taoiseach to Scranton, but we all have Nancy Pelosi to thank for him being here tonight. I send best wishes to my sisters, Jeannie, Mari, Celia, and Katie, and sisters-in-law, Posey and Katie, and their families, who have been a great support throughout this past year. I would especially like to say a special hello to my beautiful wife, Chrissy, who in addition to being my best friend, also happens to be one of the best mothers I have ever known to our three beautiful girls, Abigail, Caroline, and Cecilia. I want to thank Chrissy for her constant support and friendship. Chrissy is at home tonight hosting a few friends with my mom and her mother, Barbara O'Brien, and all of our sisters. I know two things. They are having a great time, and they are not listening to us on the radio. I would like to take a moment and thank our officers, Chris Kelly and Tim Pryl, and especially our Secretary, Attorney Scott Lynott, and our Treasurer, Attorney Joe Haggerty, who both will be stepping down after tonight's dinner. They were an enormous help to me and do most of the heavy lifting throughout the year. I would also like to thank our historian, Bill Pryl, who is without a doubt the heart and soul of this organization. Thank you, Mr. Pryl, for everything you do for the Friendly Sons. Finally, I want to thank and recognize our chaplain, Monsignor Joe Quinn, who is home tonight recovering from a brief hospital stay.
Thanks, Pat.
Monsignor Quinn is a special person to so many of us in this room, and he is home tonight getting some much-needed rest. I can guarantee you two things about Monsignor Quinn tonight. He is not having a great time at home, but he is listening to us on the radio. And briefly, I would just like to offer a few special welcomes. First, the Irish Ambassador to the United States, Michael Collins. Ambassador Collins is making his second appearance here tonight after being here 22 years ago when he accompanied Taoiseach Dr. Garrett Fitzgerald to our dinner. Mr. Ambassador, we are honored to have you back, and we thank you for the support, your support of the Friendly Sons. To Governor Martin O'Malley, our society's principal speaker just 2 years ago. Governor, it is great to see you and hear you again tonight. And to Dr. Alistair McDonald, Deputy Director of the SDLP, and Member of British Parliament, representing Belfast South. Dr. McDonald, thank you for being with us. Finally, I would like to thank you, the members of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick of Lackawanna County, and our friends and guests for being here tonight. If you think about it for a few moments, think about the history of 103 years of all of us coming together year after year to celebrate our Irish heritage. It is powerful just to take a minute and think about the men that have sat in your seats, the fathers and sons and grandfathers and grandsons who for one night are able to come together to remember those that have come before us. It is powerful to think about the men that have stood at this podium, whether at the Hotel Casey, the Hotel German, St. Mary's Center, or here at Genetti's. It is powerful for me to think about my great-grandfather, E.J. Lynott, who stood at this podium 99 years ago as the 4th president of our society, as he introduced the legendary international president of the United Mine Workers of America, John Mitchell, as his principal speaker. It is powerful for me to think of my grandfather, Ed Lynott, my father, Jim Haggerty, and my uncles, and some of the men that I have looked up to my entire life, to think that they all stood here as presidents of this society and enjoyed this dinner with their fathers and their children. It is powerful for me to know that we have welcomed American leaders such as United States President Harry Truman, Vice President Hubert Humphrey, and U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy. We have also been blessed to have many Catholic Church leaders, to include Archbishop Fulton Sheehan, Cardinal John F. O'Hara, Cardinal John J. O'Connor, and Father Patrick Peyton. We have been honored to listen to bishops of the Diocese of Scranton, to include Hoban, O'Reilly, Hathey, Klanowski, Hannon, McCormick, O'Connor, Timlin, and Doherty. The list of Irish leaders is equally powerful and impressive. Taoiseach Dr. Garrett Fitzgerald, Taoiseach Albert Reynolds, Honorable Martin McGuinness, MP, Honorable John Hume, MP, and Jerry Adams, to name a few, have all addressed the society. In my letter of invitation to Taoiseach Ahern, I said that in many ways our dinner has acted as a powerful channel of communications for the parties in Ireland to address the people of northeastern Pennsylvania and the United States. That tradition continues tonight.
Hear, hear.
So thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for the honor of representing you as the 103rd President of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick of Lackawanna County. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce your Toastmaster for this evening. I have been extremely lucky in my life to have two brothers, Jimmy and Daniel, who I have been particularly close to, both in age and in friendship. For most of my life growing up, I wasn't sure if my last name was actually Haggerty or Where's Jimmy. Everywhere I went, it was simply, hey Matthew, where's Jimmy? To those of us who are lucky enough to know Jimmy really well, and believe me, that is not many people, knows that Jimmy loves a spirited argument. He loves being with his friends, once in a while until the wee hours of the morning, and he brings great passion and humor to everything that he gets involved in. Jimmy is a graduate of Scranton Prep and received a Bachelor of Arts from Villanova University. He entered the coaching profession after graduation from Villanova as the freshman boys basketball coach at Bishop Hannon High School. He went on to coach at Scranton Prep, where he became head boys basketball coach for 4 years and led Prep to several winning seasons, a Lynott Tournament Championship and a PIAA District 2 Championship. On that note, I would like to take a second and congratulate Prep on a great season this year that saw them go farther than any school in the history of the PIAA, any team at Prep in the history of the PIAA state tournament. Isn't it amazing what good coaching can do? In 2001, Jimmy left Prep to take a job as a graduate assistant to Jay Wright at our alma mater, Villanova University. Jimmy coached at Villanova for 2 years before he went on to serve as an assistant coach at New York University and Columbia University. He retired from coaching 2 years ago and returned home to Scranton. Today, he is an independent insurance agent with Brian Bell and his son Andrew Bell at Joyce, Jackman and Bell Insurers. Jimmy previously served our society for 4 years as assistant treasurer and treasurer. I am proud to introduce your Toastmaster for the evening, my brother, Jimmy Haggerty. Your Excellency Bishop Timlin, An Taoiseach Bertie Ahern, Father Donahue, Reverend Clergy, Ambassador Collins, Senator Casey, Governor O'Malley, Congressman Carney, Kanjorski, and Holden, Dr. McDonald, distinguished judges, honored guests, officers of the society, friendly sons, and all those listening in the radio audience. Oh, Ireland, isn't it grand you look, like a bride in her rich adorning. With all the pent-up love in my heart, I wish you the top of the morning. May I wish all of you the top of the evening, and welcome you to the 103rd annual dinner of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick of Lackawanna County. It is a pleasure to stand before you tonight as your Toastmaster, and I'd like to thank my brother Matthew for the honor of serving in this capacity on his big night. Gentlemen, before I forget, Kenny McDowell has asked me to make an announcement. He found $5,000 in his tuxedo from last year's dinner. He'll be buying drinks for everybody afterwards. Contrary to what many of you may have heard, my selection as Toastmaster was very simple. As a matter of fact, I would put my resume up against anybody. His brother of 37 years. 22 years we shared the same bedroom. We went to grade school, high school, and college together. We played basketball, football, and baseball together. We were golf partners all summer. I'll say it again, the choice was simple. As it turns out, Daniel didn't want the job. As you can imagine, Matthew and I had a great relationship growing up. I have two quick stories which I think clearly demonstrate a healthy sibling rivalry and also Matthew's sense of humor, which began to emerge in his youth. One night at the Dunmore Little League, during a late inning pitching change, Matthew emerged from the dugout and announced to my parents sitting in the bleachers and anyone else in earshot, "Mommy and Daddy, Jimmy's going in to pitch. We're dead." Well, as you can imagine, my father did not find that very funny. And unfortunately for Matthew, the concept of timeouts did not exist in the late 1970s. Matthew was summoned to the stands and unceremoniously spanked in front of the entire Dunmore Little League. The next story also involves Little League, and a wager in our house about who would hit the first home run. While I'm sad to report that I never did get one out of the park, Matthew, however, finally did get his. In one of his last games of his final season, Matthew got that one pitch that he drove over the left field fence. And as he jogged the bases and rounded third, he looked up to my parents sitting in those same bleachers and said, "If Jimmy could only see me now." Well, Matthew, I do see you now.
and I'm very proud of you and all of your accomplishments. And like everything you do, I know tonight you'll hit a home run. Let me also take a moment, Matthew, and congratulate you on the recent news of your promotion at Times Shamrock. At my last count, that makes 5 CEOs. The last time I saw 5 CEOs and no boss was Coach Jack Kelly's Dunmore High School basketball teams. Good luck to you, Matthew. Gentlemen, my job tonight is to move the program along, and I intend to do so with dispatch. But before I continue, let me take a moment to say hello to my mother, my sisters, and to my sister-in-law, Chrissy, all listening, I'm sure, to the radio broadcast. As I celebrate this evening with my father, brothers, and brothers-in-law, my uncles, cousins, and friends, especially to our Villanova friends at tables 4 and 5, who traveled from all across the country to be here tonight. I would like to say a quick welcome to my nephews Jimmy and Christopher McGrath, who led us in the Pledge of Allegiance earlier this evening. They are the 5th generation of our family to participate in this dinner. Their presence here tonight brings back a lot of good memories. My first real vivid memory of this dinner was as a young boy, standing in my parents' bedroom, watching my mother pin a corsage on my father's tuxedo. Unfortunately, my second real vivid memory was sitting at the breakfast table the next morning and watching my father come home. He wonders where we get it. So tonight I am thrilled to be your Toastmaster for the 103rd annual dinner. I have to tell you that my job got off to a challenging start. Matthew was faced with the dilemma whether or not to raise the ticket price by $10. As with everything, our costs are going up, and we want to limit the expenses people have in coming to our dinner. So Matthew came to me and asked me what I thought he should do. I told Matthew he had nothing to worry about. I would handle everything. He thanked me for the help, but suggested in the meantime that I reach out to a few people who make these kinds of decisions every day. I thought that made sense and began to think of who I could call. My first call was to A.J. Munchak. I explained my dilemma around raising the ticket price and asked him how I should handle the situation. AJ responded, "That's an easy one. Just tell everyone you are lowering it by 25%, then raise it 40%. And make sure you blame it on Joe Corcoran." While I thought that sounded like a good idea, I figured I should get a few more opinions. So I called Senator Bob Mello, who answered, "It doesn't really matter how much you raise it. Just make sure you do it in the middle of the night and blame the Republicans." Matthew's advice was starting to look pretty good, but I figured I should keep asking. I called Bobby Cordaro. He said, "I don't care what you do. Just give me 100 tickets and I'll sell them to Mandalay Entertainment for half the value." I called Lackawanna County Treasurer Eddie Karpovich. He said, "Sorry, Jim, I'm not really good with numbers." Sorry, Eddie. I spoke with Chick Rader and asked him for some advice, and his response was a bit different. He said, "You mean we're supposed to pay for this dinner?" My next call was to Bishop Martino. advice, refuse to negotiate. Finally, I decided I would make one last call to a man I knew I could count on for some help. Not only is he the mayor of our great city, but he was our society's president last year. Yes, that's right, I called Chris Doherty. He never called me back. So obviously everybody knows by now that we settled on the $10 increase. The good news is the back of your ticket is a coupon redeemable for free membership to the Country Club of Scranton. Matthew, thank you again for this special honor. It's been a lot of fun working with you over the past year. And what an interesting year it's been. There's been a lot of attention lately surrounding recent grand jury testimony, both at the national and local level. Much of the attention locally has centered on Lackawanna County's own Father Joseph Sika. While I won't get into the details tonight, after reviewing all the evidence and seeing Father Sika's picture on the cover of the Scranton Times, is there a person among us tonight who believes for 1 second that Father Sika is not taking human growth hormones? It was great to see Father Sika here tonight. We were afraid the Secret Service were the only ones armed. It was very exciting to see Senator Hillary Clinton marching in the parade. She was marching with the Irish Balladeers and John Keeler. In case you didn't recognize her, she was the one wearing pants. Hillary also announced, with the recent resignation of Geraldine Ferraro, that Chucky Costanzo was taking over as Director of Sensitivity Training for the campaign. Gentlemen, I would like to keep our program moving forward. So at this point, I would like to introduce the members of the dais who will not be speaking this evening. I simply ask that you withhold your applause until I complete all introductions. I'd ask those members of the dais to stand as I announce their names and remain standing until I've completed the introduction of the dais. I will start with the lower dais, going from my right to left. Honorable S. John Catone, retired judge, Court of Common Pleas. Honorable Vito P. Girollo, judge, Court of Common Pleas. Honorable Michael J. Barrace, judge, Court of Common Pleas. Honorable Robert A. Mazzoni, judge, Court of Common Pleas. Honorable Thomas Munley, judge, Court of Common Pleas. Honorable Chester T. Harhut, president judge, Court of Common Pleas. Honorable Carlin J. O'Malley, judge, Court of Common Pleas. Honorable Carmen Minora, judge, Court of Common Pleas. Honorable Thomas I. Vanaski, judge, U.S. District Court. Honorable Tom Corbett, Pennsylvania Attorney General. Honorable Jack Wagner, Pennsylvania Auditor General. Christopher M. Kelly, Esquire, Assistant Treasurer, Friendly Sons of St. Patrick. Joseph O. Haggerty, Jr., Esquire, Treasurer, Friendly Sons of St. Patrick. Timothy J. Pryal, Assistant Secretary, Friendly Sons of St. Patrick. W. Scott Lynott, Esquire, Secretary, Friendly Sons of St. Patrick. Honorable Dennis M. O'Brien, Speaker, Pennsylvania House of Representatives. Honorable Seamus McCaffrey, Justice, Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. Thomas Cawley, President, St. Patrick's Day Parade Association. Congratulations, Tom, on another tremendous day. Gerald Williams, President, St. David's Society. Dominic Iezzi, President, Columbus Day Association. Honorable Edward W. Karpovich, President, Friends of Poland, who actually is pretty good with numbers. Alan Davidson, President, Amos Lodge of B'nai B'rith. Eric Barhees, President, German American Society. Now, gentlemen with the upper dais. Honorable Alistair MacDonald, Member, British Parliament, representing Belfast South. Honorable Paul E. Kanjorski, Member, United States House of Representatives. George V. Lynott Jr., Vice President-elect, Friendly Sons of St. Patrick. Honorable Terrence R. Nealon, Judge, Court of Common Pleas. Honorable Michael Collins, Irish Ambassador to the United States. Honorable Timothy Holden, Member, United States House of Representatives. Honorable Richard P. Conaboy, Senior Judge, U.S. District Court. William M. Pryal, Historian, Friendly Sons of St. Patrick. Reverend Scott Pillars, S.J., President, University of Scranton. Honorable James J. Walsh, Retired Judge, Court of Common Pleas. Gentlemen, if I can have a round of applause. It is not very often a Toastmaster at a dinner like this gets to kick off the program by introducing a neighbor and friend, especially when that neighbor and friend is a United States Senator. The Caseys and Haggertys grew up only 5 blocks from one another, and while his brother Matt is our contemporary, Matthew and I had the opportunity to watch Bobby grow up just a few years ahead of us and develop into the national leader he is today. Our fathers were great friends who not only shared a law practice together, but also a deep commitment to public service, culminating in Governor Casey's 2 terms in office and my father's 7 years as Secretary of the Commonwealth and General Counsel to the Governor. To this day, the Haggerty and Casey families share a bond and common values passed on to us from our parents. We owe them a great deal of thanks. Before I call Senator Casey to the podium, I'd like to mention 2 very impressive statistics that have accompanied his remarkable career. Bob Casey Jr. made history when he was elected state treasurer on November 2nd, 2004, with over 3.3 million votes, the most ever by a candidate in the state of Pennsylvania. On November 7th, 2006, Bob was elected to the United States Senate with nearly 59% of the vote. One newspaper described his victory as the most dominant performance by a Democrat in a Senate race since 1914. Bob currently represents Pennsylvania in the United States Senate and serves on 5 Senate committees, among them the very prestigious Foreign Relations Committee. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you a man who needs no introduction in this room or any other room in Lackawanna County or across the state of Pennsylvania for that matter. Gentlemen, to offer remarks of welcome to Taoiseach Ahern, our friendly son and Scranton's own, United States Senator Robert P. Casey Jr.
Reverend clergy, Bishop Timlin, the Taoiseach of Ireland, we're so honored by your presence here today. Sir, I want to speak about your career in a moment and how grateful we are for your presence tonight. Matthew and Jimmy Haggerty and the whole Haggerty family, this is a great night for Jim Haggerty and Celia and your entire family. And you can tell by what you saw tonight with the president and the Toastmaster, the kind of parents they had and the kind of upbringing they had. We're so proud of them. I just whispered to Jimmy when I grabbed the microphone how funny he was. And don't worry, I'm not going to try to imitate that or compete with that. But I'm truly grateful. Ambassador Collins, Dr. McDonald, all the members of Congress who are here. Congressman Carney, Congressman Kanjorski, Congressman Holden, and Congressman Murphy, all here tonight. Governor O'Malley from Maryland, who joins us again as the governor of that state. State officials who are here. Auditor General Wagner, Attorney General Corbett, and Speaker of the House of Representatives O'Brien. I'm not sure that we've ever had this kind of assemblage of elected officials at the state and national level in one room for this dinner. And I'm grateful for their presence here tonight. And so many, go ahead. Mayor Doherty, Mayor Zaleski, and other mayors who are here. Mayor Callahan, who's with us tonight as well. Members of the judiciary, distinguished members who were here with us from the county and state and federal level. We're honored by your presence. And of course, fellow friendly sons of St. Patrick. Now, when I was here last year, I told you it was good to be home. I had spoken in New York the night before. I can say that tonight with a lot more feeling, because I was supposed to go to Belgium, to Brussels, for a conference that we planned a year ago. I was the co-chair of a delegation. Senator Benham of Utah asked me to go. And I accepted a year ago, was happy to accept. I was going to go to Brussels and learn about all kinds of issues, from climate change to war to the Middle East, all of these great issues. And a strange thing happened on the way to Brussels, which has a connection to this dinner and to our guest, in an indirect way, but a connection nonetheless. We made it, the original itinerary was to leave from Washington and go to part of Canada, to a town called Gander, in the middle of a very cold part of the world, where aircraft land. A lot of aircraft landed there on September 11th. It's a great community there. There just aren't a lot of people, and it's very cold. But that was stop one, to refuel. Then the next stop was to Shannon, Ireland, to refuel yet again, and then on to Brussels. Well, we had to leave late because of the budget, and as far as we got was Gander. That's as far as we got. So we had, my wife Freeze and I had Friday night in Gander. So I just want the Prime Minister of Ireland to know that when I saw him tonight, and I reached out my hand to shake his hand, I wanted him to know that because I couldn't get to Shannon, that was as close as I was going to get to Ireland this weekend. So we're honored by his presence. But we're also honored by what this Prime Minister has brought to his people, to the people of Ireland. All of his public service, all of that service over many, many years, decade after decade. We also appreciate his leadership in the world at a very difficult time. Difficult economy across the world, but also a world where terrorism reigns across too many regions. And we're too worried about it day in and day out, year in and year out. So we need strong leadership across the world. And of course tonight, we're especially proud of his contribution to peace in Northern Ireland and prosperity all across the great world that we know as Ireland, the land of our forefathers. So, Mr. Taoiseach, when you come here tonight, we leave you with our hearts and our hopes, but also with our gratitude for what you've meant to us in this country, but what you do for the great people of Ireland. Thank you so much for your leadership. So tonight we celebrate in so many ways, but here in America that celebration is tempered by some hard realities. The hard realities of a tough economy, which so many families are living through, and the harsh reality that this week, we mark the 5th anniversary of the start of the war in Iraq. So many lives lost in those 5 years. Here in Pennsylvania, the number is up to 182. More than 1,200 wounded from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, many of them grievously, permanently, and irreparably wounded. We're thinking of them tonight, and we're thinking of our men and women in service in Iraq and Afghanistan and around the world. And I think tonight when we whisper a silent prayer for those troops and for their families, we also think, and I remember tonight, and I heed the words of Governor Casey when he said at the start of the Gulf War in 1991, he said, and I quote, "We pray for them, but we also pray for ourselves that we may be worthy of their valor." So tonight we offer that same prayer for those troops and for their families. And so tonight when we welcome this Prime Minister, I stand before you, and not only as a member of the Foreign Relations Committee, not only as a member of the Subcommittee on European Affairs, and not only as a proud resident of Scranton and Lackawanna County, but mostly tonight, I have the honor and the privilege to stand before you as a fellow member of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick of Lackawanna County. And Mr. Prime Minister, we welcome you tonight to the best dinner of its kind anywhere in the United States of America. We welcome you. And let me say in closing, the reason I can say that is because of the people in this room. All of the generations that are represented across this room tonight, at every table, at every corner of this room. And I can also say it because of the people of this region, the great people of this region, Irish and those who are not Irish, who live in Lackawanna County. We share so much tonight, and every night, in this county and in this region. We share a heritage of hard work and sacrifice, a legacy of struggle and triumph, and I think at the same time, we also share an abiding allegiance to faith and to family. And last but not least, we all share an enduring belief. We've had to believe this over many generations in this region. An enduring belief in the promise of tomorrow. So, Mr. Prime Minister, we welcome you. We open our hearts to you tonight, and we couldn't be happier with the honor of your presence. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bobby. It means a lot to all of us that you were able to be here tonight. Gentlemen, we have been blessed as a society on many occasions with great speakers, and tonight is a testament to that great tradition. Born in 1951, Bertie Ahern was elected Prime Minister of Ireland on June 26, 1997, at the age of 45, making him the youngest Taoiseach in Ireland's history. This past June, he was elected to his third term as Ireland's 10th Taoiseach. Among his many accomplishments as Taoiseach, none are more important or more lasting than his tireless efforts to negotiate the Good Friday Agreement, which celebrates its 10th year in a few short weeks. On the afternoon of Good Friday, April 11, 1998, just 4 days after the death of his mother Julia, the historic multi-document was finally signed. Taoiseach Ahern would later say, "The Good Friday Agreement is our framework to achieving a lasting peace in Northern Ireland." And for the first time since 1918, the people of Ireland voted on the same day to determine the future of the entire island. The language of the agreement read, "It is the entitlement and the birthright of every person born on the island of Ireland to be part of the Irish nation. That is also the entitlement of all persons qualified by law to be citizens of Ireland." Brought up in a working-class Dublin suburb, Ahern is the son of a man who fought with the IRA in the War of Independence and then became a staunch member of the party his son now leads, Fianna Fáil, Soldiers of Destiny. At the heart of the Irish political scene for more than 30 years, Prime Minister Ahern is now the longest-serving Taoiseach in Ireland's history since Eamon de Valera. Equally impressive is the fact that he is also the second longest-serving political leader among the European Union's 25 heads of state. At the invitation of the Honorable Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, the Taoiseach will address a joint session of the United States Congress next month. Having last year addressed a joint session of the British Parliament, Prime Minister Ahern will become only the 5th person in history to have addressed joint sessions of these governmental bodies on both sides of the Atlantic. Taoiseach Ahern joins a long list of Irish dignitaries to address our society. Gentlemen, please join me in welcoming our distinguished guest, the Prime Minister of Ireland, Bertie Ahern.
It's great to be here, and great to be here on what is almost St. Patrick's Day. Another few hours before you get out of here, it'll be definitely St. Patrick's Day. Matthew's father is anything to go by. St. Patrick's Day will be nearly over by they get home, but anyway. That's a good tradition. It's been going on for 103 years, so it'll be terrible to stop it now, but anyway. I want your Grace, Bishop Timlin, and to Reverend Fathers, to Mayor Doherty, Senator Casey, to Congressman Carney, Jaworski, Holden, Murphy, to Governor Martin O'Malley, to Ambassador Collins, to my colleague Alistair MacDonald from SDLP, I'm delighted tonight to meet Max Kennedy and to meet so many of you and all of the distinguished members of the judiciary and public office that are here, and all of you of Irish extraction and origin, and those of you who are not. I want to thank so much President Hegarty for having me along and going to a lot of trouble for a lot of time to arrange it. So Matthew, I must say, it has lived to all your promised in your letters, a great night, over 1,300 people eating excellent food, and as packed a room as you could get, and it is an honour to be with the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick's from Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania, and thank you for having me here, and thank you for the opportunity. The distinguished Toastmaster and fellow guests, I want to start by thanking Senator Bob Casey for those kind words of introduction. I've been told repeatedly about the warmth of the welcome here, and it's lived up to all of those expectations. And I know that Scranton is the birthplace of Senator Casey. It's also, of course, the birthplace of Senator Joe Biden. I'm told it's also the home of Dunder Mifflin branch office as well. I want to thank the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick's and our President, Matt, for extending this kind invitation to me, and also to thank Congressman Chris Carney, who was so active in encouraging me to be here. As you're probably aware, it's customary for the Taoiseach to visit Washington on St. Patrick's Day, and as it happens this year, it works out well because it is St. Patrick's Day. Sometimes it's the 15th and sometimes it's the 14th, but tomorrow, so we start early at 6:30 tomorrow, between 6:30 and about 10 or 11 tomorrow night. We'll hit a few places, and en route, I hope somebody brought the shamrock so I can give it to the President, but anyway. If it's not, we'll find some clover somewhere. That's all. But I look forward, obviously, to meeting the President, and it is something that we honour greatly in Ireland, because it's not just to be here for the shamrock, but we're afforded every year the opportunity of being able to discuss with the President issues that affect Ireland, that affect Europe, the relationship that we all have, the work that we do in the United Nations together, the involvement of Irish troops, and as we are now in Kosovo and Chad, where we've been for a country of our size and putting a very large contingent of troops into these areas. And I must say, the President has these 8 years, tomorrow will be my 8th time to be with him. He has been very helpful with us, as his predecessors were, and giving us a really good opportunity to be able to be engaged on these issues, and we really respect that, and it's a singular honour for Ireland to have our National Day celebrated in this way. And tomorrow we'll be in Capitol Hill again, where we'll meet our colleagues, though, on Monday. We appreciate that as well. I also want to pay tribute to a very distinguished guest here tonight, the very Reverend Peter O'Donoghue, the President of Villanova University. And Villanova has a long and proud tradition of academic excellence. It's also a proud tradition of great presidents with Irish ancestry, and those of you who follow Irish sporting achievements, and Irish athletics in particular, would know the incredible role that Villanova has played in the development of Irish athletics over the years. We're very grateful for the commitment to excellence in this field, Father Donoghue, and we warmly applaud the links between Villanova and Ireland. I have to say, I suppose, quickly, and we've had an extraordinary good record with excellent people in Villanova until they get to the Olympics. The last time we won a medal on the track at the Olympics was 1956, but anyway, there's always the next Olympics, but anyway. But we've had excellent runners anyway, but they ran very well for Villanova. Also on the sporting team, I'd like to welcome Pat Price, who is the assistant coach to our Irish national basketball team. Pat is from Scranton, but he's here to help promote the Emerald Hoops project, which aims to bring US college basketball teams to play in Ireland. And I want to wish him well in what is an exciting project, and thank him for the efforts. Ireland has gone through many significant changes in the last 20 years, and you'll be glad I'm not going to go through all of those tonight, because you want to enjoy yourself. But the country has changed a lot. Our creativity, our commitment to, as the senator said, to family and to learning, our love, banter, our determination to see the best in ourselves and others remains as vibrant as ever. It would never be part of our nature to take life too serious, and particularly around St. Patrick's Day, that would be a very bad idea. It's a good, as Jimmy has done, to have a bit of a laugh and a bit of fun. I didn't get all those jokes, but I gathered a fair few of them hit home, but anyway, it was, you know what they say in Ireland, where the cap fits. But anyway, although the events of the last 10 years in political and social and economic terms have brought many changes to Ireland, the core of our identity remains the same. And likewise, despite the many challenges faced by generations of Irish Americans, you've stayed true to your heritage and to the legacy of your ancestors, and you show that by the huge effort you put into this night, to the parade yesterday. And here in your district and in your county, you have that proud tradition of the annals of Irish America. And I want to say a sincere thank you to the generations of Irish Americans who kept the flame of their Irish identity burning so brightly in Scranton and to Roxbury and to Carbondale and all of these areas beyond. It's a great tribute to you all that you worked so hard to do that. But Matthew was saying tonight, and Jimmy, that as the 5th generation of their family to be part of this, that shows that enormous loyalty, and that is so important to us. Many of your ancestors left Ireland saying farewell to friends and family, many forever, because that's the way it had to be in those days. Distances were great. The transport or communications we take for granted today did not exist. It can often be difficult to fully understand the sense and loss and grief that emigration brought in those difficult times. Pre-famine, we had just over 8 million people. When the next census was taken a decade later, we had under 4 million people. The sense of loss and dislocation experienced by earlier generation remains deeply rooted in the Irish consciousness and will forever, but I believe we can do so in a positive way now. For those who came to the United States, the sense of loneliness and distance, when you think of it on a night like this, must have been overwhelming. But this country offered to generations of Irish people rich hope and promise. And Lackawanna County has a population that is almost 1/3 Irish. Over 30% of the population claimed Irish heritage in your latest census of 2006. I would say, President, that there are few cities in the United States where that can still be true. It is an enormous record of loyalty and connection that is between your county and Ireland. And communities like Strampton represent a living tribute to the Irish who came here throughout the centuries. Although the young Irish now travel the globe with a ease and facility that can be astounding, we have not lost sight of the important role that communities like this play in maintaining our links with the United States. And I say back home all of the time, though the population in 1990 in the Republic of Ireland, we were down to 2.6 million. We were suffering from economic recession and the huge continuation of emigration. Where now we've had a decade of average of 7% of economic growth, where the population is up for now to 4.3 million, where our people have come back from the United States, where they've come back from Australia and Canada, where 15.5% of the working population are new Irish. It is a big change from where we are. And if you think the challenges, I suppose, and many of you know this very well, the challenges that we never had to face in 150 years, or for that matter, hundreds of years, is that of integration, of trying to move from 1% of new Irish a decade ago to now 15%, the huge movement of Eastern Europe and people from Africa and other states that have moved into Ireland to pull all that together. We were always used to big numbers from outside, but they were normally from across the water. They weren't very welcome. But now it's a different situation where we have to make sure that integration works in a different way. And of course now our relationship with our friends across the water are very, very strong. We have built and developed that in the last number of years. But President, we are justifiably proud of the achievements of all those who left our shores and those who are descendants. We're particularly proud of the contribution that the Irish in this area made to building America through their work in the coal mining and the iron working industries here in Lackawanna County. But we've not forgotten the hard and dangerous work they undertook in the foundries, in the railroads, and the coal mines. They are the stories and legends of history. Nor have we forgotten the many that suffered and were lost in mine collapses, which took a terrible toll on this community down through so many generations. I understand from Matthew that when his great-grandfather was president, he mentioned earlier the society back in the early 1900s. The guest speaker was John Mitchell, the president of the United Mine Workers of America, who was buried here. He was one of the great union leaders of the generation, rightly commemorated outside the courthouse. So much has changed to the better in your area and at home too. At the same time, we remain deeply aware that there are Irish people in this country who are undocumented, who are not free to enjoy the freedom and promise of this great land. Though their numbers are relatively small, their situation remains of deep concern to all of us in Ireland. I'm very grateful for the support that they have already received from many members of the Irish American community and from our many friends in Congress. I'm also grateful for the very positive engagement of the President on this issue, and I look forward to reviewing matters with him as well as with our friends in Capitol Hill again tomorrow. Most of you will already, President, be aware of the historic progress we've made in Northern Ireland. I'm not going to go back over the years, just the last 12 months. The restoration of the Northern Ireland Assembly and Executive and the North-South Ministerial Council last year was a landmark and enormously welcome development. When I was here this time last year in the United States, I wondered, would we get that last step? I wondered with our colleagues and friends of Ireland and the Hill, and when I met the President and when I met many of the leaders from Northern Ireland who were here, would we be able to move that last step? But I applaud the welcome that was received by First Minister Ian Paisley and Deputy First Minister Martin McGuinness when they visited New York and Washington in December. That, as always, was very helpful. Their meetings with President Bush and Speaker Pelosi were signals of warm encouragement and real support, and were enormously of assistance to us. And we in Ireland are working closely, north and south, to build a better future for the whole of the island of Ireland. I've never had more confidence than I have today in Ireland's future, a future of peace and partnership and rising prosperity. When you see Ian Paisley and Martin McGuinness and other leaders and the leaders of Alistair MacDonald's party and Mallister himself and others and the unionist parties working together, sharing power together, sharing in an executive together. When you think of it, it'd be hard for it to work anywhere in the world. But the only way we could make it work in Northern Ireland was for everyone to share together. And they're doing that. And I want to particularly say tonight to all of you, members and friends of the Irish community, that in any way and whatever way that you've helped over the years of trouble, it's when the news was the same story, hundreds killed, thousands injured, more bombings, more industries closed, more unemployment, more emigration. You've helped, and nobody has helped more than the United States of America for us to turn the tide into where now we have a rise of prosperity, people coming as tourists to the north, people staying in the north, the families staying, the children staying, people working together. Even, Bishop, when Dr. Paisley went to see the Cardinal before Christmas, and both of them shook hands and cooperated, I can tell you that was a change, folks. But it has worked very well, and the United States of America have helped so much to make that happen. And I'm entirely convinced that America and our many friends in this great country made a vital contribution to our process. The constant support, the encouragement that we received made a real and valuable difference. And so from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you. Now, as we move on with confidence and strength, our thoughts turn towards securing an economic future for Northern Ireland. The Northern Ireland Executive is hosting an investment conference in May, which is designed to showcase the economic opportunities there and to attract new investment. The US, the Irish, the British governments are all working together to support this conference, because we want to build an island economy in Ireland which is a model to the world and which allows all north and south to enjoy employment and rising prosperity for the future. Ireland's economy has seen remarkable transformation over 20 years, but contemporary Ireland is a changed and a better place. The economic relationship we enjoy with the United States is a vital cornerstone to our success story. We've seen unprecedented economic growth that is generating employment like never before in our history. You are our second largest trading partner and the largest source of our inward investment, which is of enormous importance to our economy. In fact, a recent study has estimated that US investment in Ireland in 2006 was nearly double that of US investment in all of South America. And I know that it's important that I can also say that this investment is not all one way like it was for the generations. While US investment has supported some just short of 100,000 jobs in Ireland, it's not maybe as often well known that Irish companies are now responsible for some 80,000 jobs here. And this is new and very positive development. Ireland and the US clearly enjoy a thriving and winning partnership. And what is even more interesting, I think, is the strong relationship between our two countries is also clearly evident from the high number of visits by Irish citizens to the US. In 2005, this was in excess of 500,000, putting Ireland among the top 10 countries in the world in terms of US visitor numbers. And if I read the figures right today, when I was looking at, I think pro rata at the highest, or the second highest, considering there's only 4 million of us. And I know in purchasing power, and it's not all beer, we're one of the highest of all. But anyway, if you take tomorrow out of it, it probably definitely isn't all beer. But anyway, with the conclusion of the Open Skies Aviation Agreement between Europe and the US last March, we're hopeful of increased passenger traffic in both directions. And no consideration of the ties that bind us would be complete without mentioning the proud success of Irish artists in the US in recent years. There's been so many of them. As I speak, Conor McPherson's latest play, Seafarer, is showing in New York, and so many other performances. And I think this cross-fertilisation of our writing and music can only enrich us and help to maintain us close into the future. Of course, the sad passing of the much lamented Tommy Macon last year reminds us of the extraordinary esteem in which many of our finest artists are held in the United States. I should mention the wonderful rendition of the national anthem tonight by Kieran Sheehan. Kieran has been doing Broadway for many years since his move from Dublin. I want to wish him well into the future, and you're going to be lucky to be able to listen to him on into the night. Looking back, President, and I conclude, on the landscape of Irish-American relationship, it'd be easy to become complacent about their enduring nature. But we know that with the passage of time, we risk the fraying of the ties that bind us together so closely. And to our generation falls the task, and I say this with a lot of seriousness, of finding ways to enhance these bonds and to give the fullest possible meaning to our friendship. Ireland and the United States enjoy a unique relationship. And it is so heartening to see, hear that you are doing that so well. So many people of straddling the generations that are here to the fore, as you are, President, and your brother and your family, and I had the honour of meeting you today, to make sure that relationship isn't there. With emigration not so high anymore, and with people coming home, and with all of the other changes in the world, it could happen that relationship would not be as strong. And I think, as you show here tonight, and I think we have to consider across America, how we can work hard to make it strong into the future. Because what we have is something special. St. Patrick's Day promotes that so much, what has been said so many times, we want to keep that all the year. But it is hugely important what we have. The fact that so many people come together, our friends of Ireland, our friendly sons of St. Patrick, and all of you put in so much effort into this, is something that I will again emphasise strongly at home. I want to express my deepest gratitude to you for the generous invitation to me to be with you. I want to thank you for your hospitality. I want to thank you for the huge organisation effort that you put in to being part of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick and to having a connection with Ireland. And for those of you who are Irish, those of you who are not, for the effort you put in, year out, I say thank you for that. On behalf of all those people who've been here and know about this great occasion, I want to say thanks for them. I know that you're going to have a wonderful evening. I know that you will be well into St. Patrick's Day when you finish. We do have that saying at home that you drown the shamrock. Now it's more correct to say drown the shamrock but don't drive. So enjoy a wonderful, wonderful evening. And in our own native language of home, if I can leave you with Bannachtí na féile páraigh Valer go raibh míle míle maith go slán bhaile.
Thank you, Taoiseach. Thank you very much for being here. On behalf of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick of Lackawanna County and the people of northeastern Pennsylvania, I want to thank you for being here tonight. Your presence tonight and your address will live as part of the history of the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick forever. I would also like to present you tonight with a painting of Scranton, painted by our very own Austin Burke, the president of the Greater Scranton Chamber of Commerce. It is a small token of our appreciation that is uniquely Scranton.